We're at the Irmo City Park in Irmo, South Carolina, where a special training is going on. I'm talking with Phil Kelley, who's here today with International Tree Solutions. Thanks for being in South Carolina, and tell me why you came down here today and what you're doing.
I came down today, I was invited by Trees SC to help train the tree climbers and arborists of South Carolina to perform their jobs safer and more effectively. So I work with a company called North American Training Solutions, and we kind of work with other arborists to introduce them to safe, modern techniques to safely prune trees and remove hazards that are around your backyard where we can't get equipment.
I think this is kind of a dangerous profession. Am I right in that?
Yeah, so per 1,000 employees, this is one of the most dangerous jobs in the United States currently. We, on average, about 90 to 100 arborists are killed every year, which is, if you break down the number of working days, that's way too many.
What are the main difficulties that you run into?
Some of the main difficulties we run into in our job is just the falls from height and the lack of awareness in how to inspect the gear and the awareness in how to take the gear that from other industries and apply it to us.
So safety is something that you just have to preach and preach and preach. And how do you go about instilling that, and what are some of the things that you feel are most necessary for people to know before they even start to climb a tree?
First thing you need to understand before you start to climb a tree is that it's hard work and that you need to have full, complete practice with the gear at a very low height, maybe 5 or 6 feet off the ground, until you get comfortable with all the systems. And then a basic understanding of the PPE and what the requirements are within the industry to perform the job when you get at height.
PEP being?
PPE would be your basic safety protocols, like a hard hat or a helmet to protect your head from falling debris or from a fall. Safety glasses so you don't get poked in the eye. And then proper footwear, and then proper clothing so there's stuff that's not loose and getting snagged and torn, those kind of things.
Why is communication among the team so important?
Because there's so many different moving parts and elements going on that if you don't properly understand what the person above you is doing, you could very easily have something fall down and land on top of you. Struck-bys are the #1 cause of fatality in our industry. So, and usually that's either tree parts or an entire tree hitting somebody.
Whoa!
Yeah.
The whole tree?
The whole tree, yes.
You've spent some time today saying that you actually need to just do things that most people would think they wouldn't. You need to know where you are. Everybody in the truck needs to know where you are, because if something happens, you've got to know exactly who's going to do what in a circumstance, in a situation. You're only kind of like you've got to have like an emergency team in place just in case you need it.
Yeah, because this job is so dangerous and there's such a significant injury status against us, we need to pre-plan for the emergency before it occurs, because otherwise what happens is that generally panic sets in and no one's really sure of what to do. So we need to make sure that we have a plan in place that meets the needs of the job being performed.
So we've got all that accomplished, and now we're going to look at our gear. And it was pretty fun to see just the color combinations and all, and that's not just to make it look fun for somebody like me. There's a reason behind some of the things that seem not that way.
Yes, so all of our gear needs to meet a standard, a minimum standard for our industry and also other industries, and all of the color coding is to help identify in case of emergency what's life support, what's not life support, what you can actually safely hook into, and what is rated for the load that you're going to put against it. So the color, and then the color is also for visibility. When you're 80 feet up in a tree, you need that really bright color so the people below you can see what you're doing and what's going on.
People think that people put things on their cleats on their feet and climb trees, and that used to be what they do. But that's not what you do now, and I think that was considered bad for the tree. You figured out that y'all have safe things that are, you're not only concerned with your safety, you're concerned with the health of the tree.
Yeah, overall the goal is to preserve our canopy as much as possible. And for years, traditionally, yes, we put spurs on or gaffs on our feet and climbed up the tree that way. And we did discover that that wounding causes a stress factor, and that stress factor can introduce microorganisms, bacteria, and insects are drawn to that. And so we have moved away from that, and now we use just strictly ropes to access a tree, similar to climbing a tower or a cave wall.
And you even have perfected it to the point where you don't just throw the rope over the branch. You've got another strategy that keeps the tree limb from being wounded.
Yeah, so once we throw a small line up into the tree, and that's our access point. Then we have a device, which is what's called the friction or cambium saver, and we install our rope into that. Rather than having the rope touch the tree, the tree is protected from the friction from our rope, so we don't damage the tree in any way during our climb.
And also, I would think that the equipment you use to make your cuts, do you have to see that everything is very sharp? And then do you study and preach things like the angles at which you make the cuts and those things, just like we do from the ground?
Yes, so we absolutely reinforce the importance of branch bark ridge,
collar,
branch
yeah.
bark collars. We absolutely really enforce the awareness of when certain funguses and pests are most active, so that way we can not do pruning at that time. Or we sanitize our tools in between, and we keep them extremely sharp so we don't tear the bark or cause extra damage while trying to make the cuts.
Well, I think it is remarkable that your industry has moved from a rather crude industry, as it probably started out being, where you just went in and cut a tree down, to now you have two major life forces being recognized. You're taking care of the people who are doing the work from a very precise way, and with rules and safety measures, and you also have rules and safety measures to protect the health and life of the tree. Thank you for coming to South Carolina and
No
helping
problem.
us.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.